I think you have a fundamental misunderstanding of what I'm saying. I'm not saying give away free shit. There's no such thing as a free lunch. When I say free, it is free at time of use, paid for collectively so that no one individual has to worry about footing the bill. We should all collectively pay for the things needed to keep people alive and keep them functioning within society. We should use our collective power as a society to give everyone a solid and stable foundation to start on. The United States is the wealthiest country in the history of humanity. We absolutely have the power and resources to guarantee a basic standard of living for every single person in this country. We do not need to continue to allow corporations and the absurdly wealthy to make a profit off of the suffering of other people. We should be able to work for the things that we want, not just the things that we need to keep ourselves alive. The contribution that we pay into society should pay us back in kind and take care of our basic necessities. Because what is the point of contributing to society if society does not in turn contribute to you? Nobody is being forced into labor. The people that would build and maintain the housing already fucking do that under capitalism. And they wouldn't be forced to work for free, they would be paid. Just not directly by you. I don't know where you guys are getting the idea that if somebody's not paid directly by you, that they're just forced into slavery. That is a ridiculous idea. Using that same logic, every single healthcare professional in the developed world outside of the United States is a slave. But that's an absolutely ridiculous notion, right? Because they're clearly not slaves. Well, no more than anyone else is under capitalism. We have the resources and we have the ability to make sure that no one in this country will ever have to worry about being financially unstable because their basic necessities are taken care of. We've reached a point where we do not have to, as a society, continue striving for more and more profit. It's become destructive to the planet and everything around us. Because the capitalist profit motive throws everything else out the window and says, more profit at all costs. And that way of thinking is causing a mass extinction event that we may or may not even be able to stop. Yes, I'm talking about global warming, and yes, it's real. The science has been settled on that for over 50 fucking years. We are not going to argue about that. We're even seeing demonstrable effects of that. Last week, it was 90 fucking degrees in November in Kansas. When I was a kid, we used to be getting, regular snowfall around this time. Now, sometimes I still have to flip on the AC because it's 90 fucking degrees outside. Capitalism's incessant need to continuously build more and more profit has led to the destruction of this world and caused irreparable damage to everything on this planet. If you don't think that people should suffer, then why should there be a financial barrier to getting your basic fucking necessities met? This is a very early stage. We're not talking about making everything free. We are simply talking about making basic necessities free and guaranteeing a right to life for all. And no, that right to life to all does not mean banning abortion. Bodily autonomy takes precedent there. If somebody required your organs in order to stay alive, you should have the right to refuse that. End of story. If we pay for things collectively, nobody's really forced into labor. And in fact, more people are free to choose not to do labor if their basic necessities are taken care of by the collective society. Because when your basic necessities are met, you have the actual freedom to work or not to work. And collectively paying for basic necessities so that everyone stays alive and has a choice whether to work or not to work is not a bad thing. That could only possibly be good for society. I fucking implore you to find a legitimate fucking reason that everyone having their basic necessities met would be bad for society. We have the resources, we have the power, we just need to do it. And doing this, paying for it through taxes, does not mean that your taxes are going to go up. We can tax the ever-loving fuck out of billionaires until billionaires do not exist anymore. No one needs that kind of unfathomable wealth. Do you understand how big $1 billion is? One of my favorite ways to compare to the scale of $1 billion is the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is about $1 billion. Like, $1 million would be an absolutely life-changing amount for just about anyone. Now, take that $1 million and imagine you had 1,000 more of them. That's $1 billion. Like, 1 billion is just a ridiculous amount of money that no single person's labor could ever possibly produce. Which leads us to the conclusion that the only way you get $1 billion or more is to exploit the ever-loving fuck out of other people who perform the labor, and yet you reap the profits. And don't get started on that, well, they took the risk. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. They didn't take any fucking risk. What risk did they take? Risk of becoming a normal employee just like everyone else? Congratulations, everyone does that every fucking day. There's no risk involved. Especially with fucking corporate welfare and golden parachutes given out by the government. There is no risk involved when starting a fucking business. Oh, well, you could lose everything. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to risk that. Your basic necessities should be guaranteed to you as rights. And don't even say that nobody would work if they didn't have to, because the fucking data proves you wrong. Every single UBI study that has been done, people did not stop working. In fact, they usually just cut their working hours back a little bit. And those that did stop working entirely did so to either continue going to school or to raise children. And both of those are valid reasons to not fucking work. And if some people decide that they're not going to work, who fucking cares? They still deserve to live, they still deserve to have their basic fucking necessities met, and it's going to be a very, very small portion of people. Because, I don't know if you've ever been unemployed for more than a couple of months, but it kind of fucking sucks. Like, I'm not super stoked about going into work every day, but I like not being fucking bored, and I like the work that I do. If I didn't have to worry about meeting my basic necessities, I wouldn't stop working, and most people are exactly the same way. They would take a little bit more time off of work, or just in general, work less. And that should be okay. People should be allowed to want to work less and have more of their life to themselves outside of work, without having to worry about their basic fucking necessities being met. We should not have to work the vast majority of our waking lives just to continue our existence, just to continue working the vast majority of our waking lives. It's Sisyphus and the boulder. There is no inherent meaning to it. A lot of you took Albert Camus way too fucking seriously whenever he said that we must imagine Sisyphus being happy with his role. The reason that Camus asserts that Sisyphus must be imagined as happy is because Sisyphus has no recourse to change his situation. And within the metaphor that he uses within the myth of Sisyphus, it's not talking about just menial labor, it's talking about the meaninglessness of life. The fact that we may get to the end of it and not know what it was all for, and then start again. He's not talking about meaningless labor that we're forced to spend the vast majority of our lives on just to continue our existence because it's profitable to someone else. You assert that no one should have to suffer, so why should we continue a world where a handful of people at the top continuously profit off of the suffering of people? If no one should have to suffer, why should we not put in the work to create a world where suffering is not necessary or integral to the system we play a part in? If people shouldn't suffer, why should we continue a system where people are denied access to basic necessities when we have the ability, we have the power, and we have the resources to guarantee basic necessities to all as rights?